Hey y'all, it's me, Christy. Welcome to my channel. I thought I would change things up and film tonight because I wanted to tell you a dreamscape that I had a few nights ago. And I thought that I would do a Taylor County series. I was born and reared in Georgia, and one of the places that I lived was Taylor County, Georgia. I keep having frequent dreams about Taylor County, so I'm going to start off my Taylor County series with a tale from a dream, greatly embellished, mind you, because it's me. It would be boring if I just told you a plain, simple dream, right? So, greatly embellished dream. But I was thinking that I will start telling you a little bit about my childhood because, you know, I was a lot like, I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough to remember Captain Kangaroo. He had this one thing that he always showed where there's this little boy and he had such a vivid imagination. And the little boy would, when they would launch that little part, the little boy had the little song he'd sing, and I know my name is Simon, and the things I draw come true. And as a child, I had a big imagination, and I always told my mom that I had the most magical childhood. And so I thought that it would not be unfair of me to rob you all of hearing some of my childhood stories. Mind you, I will let you know when I'm telling you fiction, but for the most part, I will try to keep to truth, but I wanted to start off my Taylor County series with a dream because I do have frequent dreams of going home. And with my active imagination, I always have a little bit extra. So here's a little extra from me. I had this dream where I went to work here in Oklahoma, and everything looked like the big hospital where I used to work. And I was not very happy to be there. I was highly stressed. And I'm getting my pile of labels, having to go to the floor to work. But before I went to the floor, I decided I needed a new sharps container. So I went off in search of a sharps container. Next thing you know, I'm somehow transported to Taylor County, Georgia, and my dog Maisie was with me, and she was still a little bit of a smaller puppy than she is now. She has grown a lot since I've gotten her. But Maisie was with me on this journey. I ended up in this huge rambling business center, and I just couldn't take things in. It was such a big change, and there were all of these happy smiling people, and like I said, it was like food and all of this stuff all around, and I kind of got the idea that I was maybe in some kind of recreational park or something, but this was like the business hub part of it. But I, you know how dreams are. I knew that I was in Taylor County, Georgia. And I knew that I was on, okay, I think it's Highway 137 that goes from Roberta, Georgia, and then you go and you turn, there's Fickling Mill that goes on into Butler, Georgia. And it was on the part of the highway, maybe past Fickling Mill. For some reason, that's where I felt like I was. And so, like I said, somebody, I say that lightly, had built this big recreational park. And I was trying to figure out my way around. And everybody I went to, they just would smile, but they weren't very helpful. And so I kept pushing my way through different doors and such. And some people would smile, but they would simply point and show me, the way to go. And I just had the feeling that there was something odd about all of these people. Finally, I came upon this couple, and there was this beautiful blonde woman, maybe in her 50s, and she was with her husband. He was the typical moneyed gentleman, had gray hair, and a round belly. And they were willing to try to show me around and help me on my way. For some reason, I knew I needed to go to Butler. We go outside, and a little side note is that we here in Oklahoma have been experiencing some flooding. So this extra rain has worked into my dream. And so we go out and we get into a cart. Like I said, this dream kind of switched around a lot. And I ended up on a cart with the couple. I think. I think it was a cart. And we're going around, and next thing you know, this fella, he's kind of getting a little handsy with me. And his poor little wife, she has this stricken look on her face where you can tell that what he's doing is kind of breaking her heart. And so I finally just ask him, hey, let me off, point me in the direction that I need to go. Now remember, my little dog Maisie is with me in this adventure. So the couple lets me off of their cart, and I'm walking, and I realize I don't have any shoes on. You know how dreams are. So I'm walking with Maisie, and there's lots of rain, and parts of the path are underwater. I would end up in these sections of the road where I had to pick up Maisie and carry her with me. And then I was also worried about the fact that when I was walking, that Maisie might have to do her business, and I didn't have anything on me for collections. But here we are, we're walking along, and I realize the road kind of splits off, and I keep my eye on the highway. That's where I wanted to get to. So I get to the highway, I work my way to the highway, and it goes downhill. And as it goes downhill, I can see that water was crossing over the highway. I watched an oncoming car come through the water, and I calculated that I would be able to walk through the water. Just ahead of us, as a feature of this new adventure park, kind of like Dollywood, I would assume, there was a covered bridge. And so I head towards the bridge. And as I get to the bridge, though, I realize that there's a detour off to the side because the road that goes through the bridge they're working on. I have another shift in my timeline, and I come to this smiling gentleman, and he's at this area where I have to get on this chair lift that's going to take me across this kind of a gorge type stream area. And it's a one-seater, and I'm going to have to put Maisie in my lap to get across this area. And I just remember sitting in that chair wondering how I was going to get back to work in Oklahoma. And so here, Maisie and I go riding off on this skyline. Can you imagine? And I'm worried about getting to work. And as I'm riding across the sky, I'm thinking about all of the people there, and I realize that I'm surrounded by perhaps non-humans. Maybe these are aliens. And I remember the chair moving, and as it glides across the sky, all of a sudden I'm pounced on by the real life Maisie, waking me up to tell me she needs to go outside and do her business. I just thought this dream was kind of interesting. You know, I was watching a movie before I went to bed, and I did forget my medicine last night before I went to bed also. But so much stuff on my mind here lately, and all of this rain. Some of the roads around me are completely covered. My daughter went to go to my granddaughter's therapy today, and she had to turn around and just let them know that she couldn't go because the roads were submerged in water. And I already have enough problems with my car. I didn't need her to drive through water. And so she let them know that they weren't able to make it. But I think all of this and some of the political, things that's been on my mind lately kind of worked into my dreamscape. And, it's been on my mind about timelines and trying to make my channel a little more interesting. And so I think that's what I'm going to do is focus on telling you more interesting aspects of my life once in a while. I won't bore you with all of my details, but there's some things that I've been working on. So I thought that I've got different files on my channel now, playlist, and I think that I will make a Taylor County series. And so y'all let me know if you like this kind of stuff, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I love you all.